You're listening to an exclusive podcast of Gold Hawk Fights Back for You on AM740 Zoomer Radio. Gold Hawk Fights Back for You airs Monday to Friday, 11 to 1 on AM740 Zoomer Radio.
Now, let's continue with Gold Hawk Fights Back with Dale Goldhawk on AM740.
All right, it's 12:05. As we all know, those who have been following all the issues surrounding industrial wind turbines, that the Health Canada report came out a few days ago to reviews. Not many of them complimentary. In fact, I can't think of one that is particularly complimentary. We're going to hear now from Dr. Robert McMurty. He's founding chair and advisor with the Society for Wind Vigilance. He's a member of the Order of Canada, former Dean of Medicine at Western University. Dr. McMurty, it's great to have you back on the radio again.
Oh, it's a real pleasure, believe me, Dale, and I really appreciate all the trouble you and others went to get me here. I'm ready to go.
All right, I'm glad you're ready to go. This report I've read a couple of times. I have in front of me probably 2 inches worth of paper on various critiques and summaries and thoughts and impressions on the report. I would very much like, first off, to hear what your initial reaction was when you read this thing that was posted online a few days ago.
Yeah, it was very striking because I heard about it and then was able to read it within minutes. And my first reaction, this is great, because Health Canada has done a study that's going to help.
Yeah.
And then I continued, and I started to think a little bit. Oh dear, it's not what we'd hoped. So I finished reading it, and at the end of it, I simply thought to myself, boy, we got some work to do, and we're going to get it done.
Well, there were a number of people, I don't know if you were included in this group, Dr. McMurty, who didn't have very high expectations for the report in the first place. I was kind of in the middle of the field. I guess I'm skeptical because of what I do for a living, but nonetheless, I thought, well, maybe Health Canada can put their finger on a few things here. Did you have that hope somewhere in the back of your mind?
No, definitely I did. But then I learned that too many things as well. I kept being hopeful. And so here we are. I reacted with, boy, this is disappointing. We got to get to work.
Well, in fact, I don't, at the outset, I don't quite understand what the report's central message seems to be. The authors spend a lot of time outlining all the shortcomings and potential failures of the report and things we couldn't draw conclusions on. But then at another point in the report, or the summary of the report, whatever it's supposed to be, said there's no link between health effects and being too close to industrial wind turbines.
And that is the continuing absurdity. They have been saying that for 10 or more years. And they've said it today. And it's everywhere. And so it's leaked out all over the place. And they're not getting good reviews. That's exactly what you said.
Well, I think that's that. I don't know anybody outside of the Canadian Wind Industry Association. I can't think of any other good reviews I've seen.
Oh, no. They even have to acknowledge that we've actually read Health Canada. But don't worry, everything's fine, and we can forget about health.
Well, that's kind of what it's saying. This is not the end-all and the be-all of any kind of study of wind turbines and any health effects, but, hey, don't worry because we couldn't find any link. But
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
What it actually is a news story in a journal. It's not a paper, it's not a study, it's not statistically significant. It doesn't help anybody. So there we are, we're really disappointed in them. And here we are knowing that that's how it turns out.
I wonder if it makes the whole situation worse.
Yes.
It does, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. It makes it worse. And that's because they're going to sell that message all through the world, in the wind industry. I imagine Health Canada, in fact, they're doing it. They're just going around briefing people that this is the case. So that's the big problem. But on the other hand, we have a tsunami of people who are rallying to deal with it in just a few weeks. And so we're really, we're going to get there. That is for sure.
Well, but, you and I talked about this a number of years ago about getting there, and this was after you had organized the International Wind Symposium, in which all of these same things were brought up then, years ago, and still, you know what, we're not, it's not moving the ball down the road, at least at this point.
Not at all. The ball is not moving down the road, and the report is not good. But we should have expected it. But I really think that we can move ahead and with success because so many people have rallied to the cause. So that's why I feel good about it now.
Well, is it your expectation that more people now will rally to the cause than we had before?
They already are more people than I've heard from ever before or seen. So every reason to be optimistic.
Well, I guess more people are becoming involved as more and more wind turbines are built, particularly in Ontario.
And you're exactly right. The wind turbines are being planned in great numbers. I even think they're hurrying it up because of this news. So what I'd like to talk about now is simply what we plan to do from here.
Well, go ahead. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to explain that. What we're going to hear from now is that they're going to continue growing this message.
Yeah.
And they're going to do it faster because they're getting more and more backlash. And so we need to figure that out, and we already are. You can see it all. So where does that leave us at this moment? It leaves us that we know it's a crap report, pardon my language.
Yeah.
We know that that's what should have been expected, and we know that's what the wind industry, and it's not just the wind industry, all corporations do this, that are trying to promote and protect their product.
Sure.
So there's no surprises there. So here we are with this lousy report, and we're going to get it, we're going to do it, and people are mobilizing as never before.
And in the middle of all of this sits the Ontario government, where I suspect some officials, some politicians are saying, see, we were right all along. Nothing to worry about, right?
Right, and we all know what party that is, but can't say.
Well, you can say anything you want on the radio here.
It's you that can't.
No, I can say anything I want, too.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it is the progressive conservatives, and they've been on to the issue from the very beginning. And time has passed, and now they're starting to wake up to that, too. And we know that. And that's the good news that keeps happening. The momentum keeps building slowly, but it just keeps building. So I can honestly say that for the next little while, let's say the next few days, that we're going to see the light in the tunnel, and it's going to be progress.
It won't be a train.
It won't be a train.
Here are the numbers to call if you would like to comment on this report and these wind turbine issues as well. 416-360-0740 or 866-740-4740. There seem to be more and more groups involved as well now, Dr. McMurty, including groups in other countries, a very active group, for example, in Australia, other international groups touching on a number of countries. I guess on the positive side, it seems as though, as you say, the forces really are rallying, and maybe we can look upon the Health Canada report as being a bit of an impetus to push everybody along because it seems so useless as a report.
It is useless, I'm sorry to say. But the good news is they've drawn attention to it like never before.
Yeah.
And that's why we feel we can focus completely on the future. Those are all the countless people that have mobilized. And what we need to do is to make sure that when we talk on Goldhawk or anywhere else, that people understand.
You're listening to an exclusive podcast of Goldhawk Fights Back for You on AM 740 Zoomer Radio.
$12:19 on Zoomer Radio, Goldhawk Fights Back. We're wading into it once again. Into what? Well, that Health Canada report, kind of a report, we're not really sure what it is, posted online a few days ago by the government that apparently shows no really. That's Dr. Robert McMurty laughing in the background. Also, that manages no connection between health effects and wind turbines. Everything is just fine, at least according to Health Canada. But Dr. McMurty, I just want, as an example, point out one odd little thing about the report. In a report full of odd little things, it says that, well, there are no health effects, but there was noted a significant amount of annoyance. They use the word annoyance. Do you remember that part?
Annoyance is the key to their whole strategy, that's for sure, and that's why the report is so disappointing. And one of our tasks for sure is going to be to define annoyance and say point blank, adverse health effect and annoyance are the same thing.
Well, in fact, the World Health Organization has defined annoyance, not on this occasion, but previously, and essentially, and this is the irony of it, they say annoyance can lead to, and they list a number of symptoms, and guess what? They're the very same symptoms we have noted and talked about by being too close to wind turbines these many years.
Exactly. You're completely on track, and I apologize for chuckling because we can get... you have callers?
Not right at the moment, I don't know.
That's great. I get more chances.
You do. You can talk right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking. So that report was lousy, and it's misleading, but it's going to end up being helpful because so many people are mobilizing to see it.
Well,
and they will understand it because that's what's happening.
But what will happen next will have to be a groundswell of people saying, come on with this report, because I say that because I know, maybe you do, I know of no other reports that are in the wind about to come up, nobody else studying this in a profound way in which we would get another report of some kind in the near future.
I certainly agree with that. This report is disappointing all along and right up to now. Annoyance is adverse health effect. Adverse effect is annoyance. That's a key pillar for them. WHO has said it, Health Canada has said it, and it's still up on their website. And so we know that we can solve it if we, with the meetings we're going to have.
Yeah.
And with all the people who are listening, you're explaining things so well that you're saying it better than I, and we're getting there. So that's really nice. The next step for us is that we're going to be having meetings, like many others.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a little conference in 2 weekends from now. And all that's being planned in considerable detail. And notices have gone out about that. And at that meeting, we're going to draw the connection for them that there is actually reason to be very hopeful, even though everybody's bummed out.
Yeah.
And that's because Health Canada has failed totally and publicly with this report.
I wonder if they know how bad this report looks inside Health Canada. How can they possibly believe in what's been written there?
I don't know. It baffles me, to be honest. I mean, for example, do you think the phone would ever come to me and say, Dr. McMurty, stop, please tell us what you're yakking about? That hasn't happened. Nothing,
eh? Yeah. No, they seem to have gone to ground, I think, pretty well, leaving the report to, I hate to say it, speak for itself. If only we knew what it was saying.
The one thing they did say that's another joy is they did say, by the way, we have to acknowledge this. No adverse health effects, but annoyance equals adverse health effects according to the WHO. So darn it all, we're going to have to mention it.
Yeah.
And they did. And what they mentioned is exactly what the studies show. What the studies have simply shown is that every single time that this has been measured in the past, and every single time they have done their work here, you can be sure that they now know that they are in trouble.
Well, they must at least know that, but they've damned themselves in their own report, A, by being confusing, and B, by being conflicting in terms of what they're trying to tell us. It has that smell of being put together in a short period of time, and yet they had more than a year to deal with it.
And more than enough time.
Yeah.
I think this was announced about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And not surprising, the wind industry was told before the rest of us by Health Canada. So I'm waiting on them. I'd love them to call on this line, but they won't. I'd love them to talk to me anytime. I'd love them, more importantly, to talk to all the people who are worried out there. They're worried. They're leaving home. They've abandoned their homes of ages.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that. The government doesn't trace it. Instead, it's spending money in other directions. So we got a big problem.
Well, a number of us are going to keep talking about that. You know that.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah. Dr. McMurty, thanks very much for bringing us up to date on what's going on. We'll stay in touch, okay?
Oh, you bet. I look forward to our next connection. Thank you very much, Dale.
Thanks very much, Robert. Okay, that's Dr. Robert McMurty. He is the founding chair and remains as an advisor to the Society for Wind Vigilance. Years ago, they convened an international symposium. How many years ago was that, Mary? Was that 3 years ago?
It seems like it was about 3.
About 3 years ago, and said all of the very things we've been saying for all of those years. And despite all of that, this report, which, as you can hear, evidence from Dr. McMurty, is at various points laughable.
You're listening to an exclusive podcast of Gold Hawk Fights Back for You on AM 740 Zoomer Radio.